Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Audience Store podcast. Today we have Lee Baring from The Specialist Works with us. Lee is a managing partner there and has a lot of insight from the media and trading side to bring us. So Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No worries, great to have you on. So you've had the questions in advance, and we're just going to dive right in. If you want to just to tell us a little bit about your business and what you do within the company.
Yeah, sure. So we're The Specialist Works, been around for over 20 years. We're a leading independent UK media agency. I'm a managing partner of implementational planning, which in real world speak means that everything we buy for our clients across all channels comes from one of my teams. I don't claim to have expert knowledge in all those channels. My background is very much in the offline space, and then I've sort of taught myself online over the last sort of 10, 15 years. But yeah, that's essentially what we do.
Awesome. So you've got a lot of experience in sort of the traditional media channels, so TV, press, radio.
Yes, yeah, mainly TV, radio out of home would be my specialties, I suppose, as a specialist. But then, as all these channels have sort of become more digitized, we've had to sort of upskill ourselves and learn about what the wider world can offer as well. So it's been an exciting time, and all those channels have really benefited from digital input.
Definitely, yeah. It seems there's a lot going on in those spaces now from a digital and a programmatic point of view. Very interesting to see what's happening in the digital out of home space. I don't know if you've seen what's going on there, but there's a lot going on in terms of connecting up the pipes and making inventory like that available through, for example, like real time bidding now. Yeah. I think it's really exciting to see those channels sort of transition to what we've been doing in the digital world for the last sort of 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the challenges for those type of that type of trading is understanding the trading versus the format, I suppose. And programmatic trading has always been, or addressable trading is sort of a one-to-one channel, whereas trying to bring that into TV, radio, out of home, the challenge is understanding that one-to-many. From an addressability point of view, so it's really intriguing to watch, and we've got a lot of sort of campaigns, testings going on, from dynamic campaign that reacts to certain weather factors, or it might be sort of even from a retail perspective. We've got a lot of retail clients, and it could be just updating the high street on what's selling hot and what's not selling, or things like that. So yeah, very exciting times.
Very good, very good. So you mentioned you guys have got a lot of history in the offline media side of things, and then sort of have come into the sort of digital space, sort of bringing that expertise and learning to digital channels. Mm-hmm. So aside from that, what are the key things that make your company, The Specialist Works, stand out then?
For us, I mean, there's two key things really that I have to land. I'd be wrapped across the knuckles if I didn't. But we're a group of passionate specialists who have built an agency specifically for marketeers, entrepreneurial brands. And that doesn't mean that they're brands that are run by entrepreneurs. It sometimes does. It's more that entrepreneurial spirit, that they're usually built quite lean. They don't have huge marketing teams. They have targets which are very much focused on customer acquisition. So we're very rarely will we get a campaign that's just about building sort of brand awareness or those sort of kind of softer metrics, which you might get from more the blue chip companies. This is about sort of driving hardcore business effects, and we're very passionate about that, and we make sure that we operate in that way, and we're fiercely independent. We build the way the agency is built is to make sure that we can respond to any brief, and we hold the brief in its highest integrity, and that nothing stands in the way of our specialists, our planners, and our buyers from buying the very best plan for our clients. We don't have any kind of agreements in place which says spend's got to go here or spend's got to go to a certain place. It's very much what works for that client, what works for that brief will be put on that plan, and then we hold ourselves to account by driving those real business effects.
Interesting. Yeah. So you guys are sort of team of specialists that specialize in each individual area, and that's why you can answer any brief in the best way possible, or activate any brief in the best way possible.
Exactly that. And we're very proud media geeks. We have a fortnightly newsletter goes out, which is called The Specialist View, which deep dives into all kinds of different subjects. We had a special on GA4. We've got one coming up this week, a special on DE&I and Meta and X and the likes. We've had all different things. We've got a really big print department, for example, and how the environmental benefits of actually buying print media still exist. And so, yeah, we're proud media geeks, and we're happily going into all the sort of nitty gritty detail.
Very cool, very cool. So you mentioned you love to you're media geeks. You love to activate campaigns. So tell us the a campaign you've worked on recently and that you're proud of, and why you think it did so well.
I think part of being a media geek is to make sure you're not going along with the trends, and you're not just sort of following the crowd, and that we're comfortable in planning and buying activity that we just believe is right for the brief. And a really good example of that is one of our newest clients called Ruggable, who we started working with. Now, Ruggable are kind of a unique brand. I don't think there's any other brand like it. They have they're rugs that go on the floor, but they have a template that goes down, and you can change that rug, and you can pick it up and put it in the washing machine. It's ideal for maybe parents with young children, or if you're a pet owner, and your rugs can get quite dirty. They're really easy to clean. They are quite expensive as well, and they're really high quality. Now, they're a digital-based company, really, D2C. And so, I suppose in their history has been a lot of digital advertising and purely digitally focused, which always has its place. But what they had a real challenge with was their brand awareness. And so we convinced them to go on to try some offline channels, mainly TV. And then we was looking at their budget, and it wasn't, I mean, it was huge by the standard of how much things cost, but in terms of a TV budget, it wasn't huge. And so we partnered with ITV, and ITV have got this great scheme called Business for All, and it means that they support that launch. And by partnering with one supplier, which we can do from a trading point of view, it meant that we could drive extra value back to Ruggable. The long and short of it is that it's turned into a fantastic case study for the client. It proved that TV worked. It proved that TV worked in harmony with their digital performance channels as well, which is really, really important. We saw a 31% uplift in all users and 123,000 incremental sales just from that TV activity alone. And then now live again, running an even larger campaign across TV right now. So just seeing those sort of things, like, it starts off with a slightly skeptical client, but a client who is, open ears and open minded, and then delivering those results and see them come through is always one of my favorite things to do, which is, for recently speaking, would be one of my favorite campaigns that we've worked on.
Amazing. That's demonstrating the value of bringing those offline channels as well. I mean,
Yeah,
you often see, I mean, you're seeing more and more, even traditionally digital businesses like
yeah,
Airbnb, I mean, even Meta now using more traditional channels to build their brand, right? And there's definitely value in that.
definitely.
I think, a lot of digital businesses can be very ROI driven. And it's very interesting that you're able to take a company like that and really help them build their brand using more traditional media.
I think it's getting the CFOs on board and the CEOs on board, and making them feel like this isn't just it's not a vanity project to be on TV or be in press or be in radio, whatever those channels are. They can drive real world results, and they do drive real world results if you've got the right measurement framework set in place, and if you align it with your performance channels, and you align it with your customer experience, and you're going to see brilliant results. And it's just a matter of having a little bit of faith, but putting the right foundations in place before the campaign launches to ensure success.
Definitely. And in terms of sort of coordinating, you said the performance channels and the sort of brand building channels. Is there any sort of magic that you're doing there? Is in terms of making sure that the campaign works cohesively, or
I think it's to make sure that you're looking at the same results, right? I think a lot has been said about channel attribution,
Mhm.
especially from, you've got proprietary tools from Google and Meta and the likes. But then if you go out to lots of different channels as well, so ITV have their own attribution models, Sky have got their own attribution models, Global have got their own attribution model. It goes on and on and on. And if you start to separate that all out, you're no longer talking the client's language. You're no longer talking the CEO or the CFO's language. So having one true view is the best way of doing that. We use a dashboarding system called Mint. It's our own proprietary in-house tool. It brings together those business effects, those business results that are key performance indicators for our clients with their media performance as well. And we also know that, yes, if you ran completely offline without having those online channels, you would see a decline in performance. And likewise, if you run just online performance channels with no offline branding, you're going to see a decline in performance. And it's trying to get that mix to come together to make sure they work in harmony. Something as simple as making sure you're bidding against the right search terms that features in your TV ad, for example, or showing display advertising just after the TV ad's gone out and linking it up from that point of view. Just integrated channel planning essentially, and making sure that everything's working together. Because in the real world, the consumer doesn't sort of sit there and go, "Oh, I've seen a TV ad. Now I'm going to go and watch a display ad or see a social ad." They're just consuming media that they want to consume, and we happen to be interrupting it with our advertising. We just got to make sure it's all joined up together, and then each touch point is strengthened by it.
That's it. I think you can't really operate in silos with these things. You have to have a joined up approach, and that seems to be what you guys bring to the table.
Definitely, 100%.
Cool. And you've probably read a lot about AI recently. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere. You can't avoid it. But how do you think AI is going to change the media industry over the next few years?
Yeah, I already said to you pre-call that I'm no expert in this field, but it's definitely, there's a lot written about it, and I think in certain fields we're already seeing it can make big changes. I would say that there's strengths and weaknesses to it, and the weaknesses I would say are my opinion, my fears, and the strengths I think are obvious. The strengths are that it should make everything more efficient. The ability, I mean, anyone who's just used ChatGPT just to do a quick search, and the ability to bring together huge bits of information on just one key aspect of what you might be researching is amazing. I mean, one good example I've got in my personal life is we're going to Florida on holiday, and I was looking for a rental car that had the boot space to fit my suitcases. So we're taking our 3 kids. That kind of research 2 years ago had taken me ages. I've had to create a spreadsheet and looked at all the different cars, whereas I could just look on the car rental website, type in quickly to ChatGPT, what is the boot liter space of this car, and it could tell me, and I knew compared to my car that it would fit my suitcases. So I think that the ability to access all that information that quickly is brilliant, especially for a planner, especially for our in-depth detail that we like to go into. My fear, though, is that AI starts to be used without human input and without much human fault. And why I fear that is because I think advertising at its best is when it's diverse, it's when it's challenging, it's when it's innovative. And I think once advertising starts to look all the same and act in the same way, you start to lose the effectiveness of the advertising itself. I think we've seen that over the years with the challenge of digital inventory and sort of the scamming that's involved there, and the fraud that can be involved there, and the trust that we've placed in machines, and we sort of focus too much on machine metrics and go away from those business effects or those human metrics. And I think we just need a little healthy dose of caution when we are using AI to make sure that we're using it to benefit the human skills we already have and not to replace them.
Definitely, that's what we say. Audience still we say, technology with a heartbeat, and I think it's about augmenting the potential benefits of things like AI and the automation side of things with human oversight. Because it's very unlikely that, I think, in my personal opinion, that we're going to get to a point where AI is able to completely run a lot of the things that we're currently sort of applying it for.
Yeah.
So it will always need a certain level of human oversight, and it's probably actually pretty scary that to think of a future where that wouldn't be the case,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
definitely.
where it's running everything and there's no human behind it. But it's interesting you mentioned ChatGPT, and obviously in terms of your personal and how you're using it there. But I mean, how are you guys using it in your business and for your clients? Are you seeing any results from doing so?
So the beauty of being an independent agency is that you can make decisions that benefit you and your clients solely. So I think we've realized very early on we are not a technology company. Investing lots of money in building AI tools is probably not going to be where our future lies. Our future lies in gathering the information, testing the tools that are being built by specialists, and and making the most of them. So that's been our mantra, and we're on a real I would say we're on an experimental phase at the moment. We're on a research phase of looking at what tools are available in the market and how they can help our business. I think in certain sectors, we've already brought them in. In other sectors, they was already there. They were just called something different. They were called machine learning or something like that. And in other sectors, that we've seen them make instant impact. So I suppose in the more functional aspects, HR, legal, finance, we've got some AI tools in there that really sped up process. I think if you ask, if you're doing note taking or annotation taking and things like that, I think you've got some tools there that can really, really help. I think the biggest impact and the biggest shift that we've seen is probably in our creative department. We've got the What's Possible group studio, creative studio, and the ability to be able to turn around copy. Like it's made the time. It's probably saved like 90% of the time it used to take. The ability to be able to give a client even just a mock-up of what their copy could look like in situ, whereas 2-3 years ago that would take maybe a full day's work. Through AI has massively sped up. So from that aspect, it's brilliant. But I would say that I think we're very proud to say we're approaching it cautiously. And every time we do bring in any form of AI into our business now and those new tools, we're looking at it from the whole aspect. Is it brand safe? Is there information safe that we're going to be using? Are we going to be how should it be used as well? Like if we give this tool to one of our team, does it mean they're going to stop sort of having that human input as well and making sure the team are trained properly in it and don't become over reliant on it? Because I think that's important. We're not dealing with clients who are primarily number one in their category. We're dealing with these entrepreneurial brands who are trying to beat the bigger clients with the bigger budgets. And you don't beat the bigger clients with the bigger budgets by acting like the big client, but just doing it with less budget. You have to outthink and outsmart. And AI can help us maybe get to that answer quicker, but it can't make us outsmart the competitors. We have to do that ourselves.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think you mentioned that. So AI sort of coming in and generally increasing productivity across your business, including like HR, legal, finance, which is interesting because those aren't areas that you necessarily think about. But obviously, there's ways that AI can add to your efficiency there. But then you mentioned the creative side, which is very interesting because I think that's where AI has had the most obvious impact in the industry as well. Just in terms of, like, say, bringing down the time to actually produce creative and get assets out there. It's been very interesting to watch some of the tools evolve in that space as well. But you also mentioned AI has been around for a while in our space, and I thought that was interesting because, effectively, especially in like the programmatic side.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been working with, like you said, machine learning for basically the last decade. What we were doing in terms of like optimizing your campaigns, basically automatically could be considered sort of an AI tool,
Yeah, definitely.
and that's been around for years. So it's not necessarily changed with the advent of LLMs in our space. It's just everybody's got a lot more excited about it, which is interesting to
I
watch.
suppose it helps with the data cleaning process, right? So you can maybe access bigger data pools now with the invention of certain AI based tech, which I think is a big benefit. But yeah, you're right. The machine learning was always there, right? It's been there for a long while now.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's certainly some things coming in now, which I think because of all the excitement around it, there are things coming in which are going to improve our space even further. But like you say, in terms of like the core proposition of like optimizing campaigns based on data, that's been around for years, and that was, like you say, that's basically machine learning. But it's interesting to see now everybody sort of hail it as AI.
Yeah, exactly.
So apart from AI, what sort of other trends are you seeing in the space that clients should be aware of?
I think we're seeing a shift away. What clients should be aware of, I think, is that what I spoke about a minute ago, really about those machine metrics. I think we're seeing a shift away from talking about media metrics in general without linking them to real business effects. And I think one of the big reasons for that has been what we've been for over the last sort of 5-6 years. You start off with COVID, and then the economy and cost of living crisis, and wars breaking out, which are all terrible, terrible things. And advertising is a very, very small part of that, but it happens to be what we do for a living, right? So it does become affected by that. And the challenge with that is, as costs increase in the wider world and the public have less money, your advertising needs to be more and more effective. So therefore, just building empty brand awareness, or saying my campaign had a 75% view through rate, or my ads were 100% viewable, without linking it back to the so what and what did that mean? How many units did we sell? How many people did we drive through to the website? What's our conversion rate? How are we doing versus competitors? And I think we're seeing much more of that coming through from our clients. And I think our clients are looking to us to be much more linked to their business. So rather than just being this kind of agency extension, how it might have been 20 years ago, where you just get briefed and you deliver your TVRs, your number of impressions, it's now becoming a much more outcomes-led business. Right? You're coming back to how many sales did we deliver, and trying to prove it as well. So I mean that's probably the biggest trend I've seen over the last 2 years, and I can't see that going away. And I think, again, going back to AI is helping that, because you've got tech in the space now which can make, you haven't got to wait for 3 months to get a big econometrics piece. There's tech now in place where we can do very quick incremental lifts, and do sort of day-to-day analysis, which can show the business effect that we're driving.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So effectively, clients are asking you to become more ingrained into their business, and they're asking to actually see the deliverables for the business, rather than necessarily not vanity metrics, but more traditional sort of advertising metrics from their campaigns.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's indicative of the clients that we work with. As I said, they're not big. Don't usually have massive marketing teams. It's small teams, but being tasked with delivering very high optimistic results in some cases. So
Mhm.
the CEO, the CFOs aren't really bothered about the share of voice, maybe, or the amount of impressions or the reach of their TV campaign. It's more to do with, okay, what did that deliver? How did that affect the business? What did we see? What did we do? And even a case of, we work with a company called Hidden Hearing, for example, and the marketing team is based above one of their stores. And the fact that the store manager will say, "Oh, I saw the ad yesterday. It's great," and that lifts morale. That's another effect that it's having from the advertising they're doing. So it's just all those. It's the business effects that are becoming far, far more important, which is why we place so much importance of them as a business as well.
Definitely. And so you mentioned, so because you're becoming more integrated with your
Yeah,
clients, obviously there's been a big trend in the industry for in-housing.
yeah.
Do you see that as effectively, maybe like a smaller client who obviously can't in-house, but they want the benefits of having an in-house team, and you're basically becoming that for them? Is that
In
sort of how that's working?
in some cases, and I think there's really good cases in some respects too in-house. If I was running a client, if I was running a marketing department in a client, I'd be looking at what I could in-house as well. The risk comes with that, and what COVID brought was you've got this fixed cost, and also you have to balance the fact that my in-house team, if I was running a client, if I was running a brand, are only aware of what we're doing for my one brand. Whereas the beauty about a media agency is that you get to work on all different kinds of brands for all different kinds of audiences, for all different kind of objectives, and you get to test and learn and experiment. You can bring that to the party. So and when we have clients in-house, we very much view that, we don't see that really as a threat. It's more of a chance to get it to be closely linked up again. So I spoke about working with Ruggable's in-house performance team. We've done that for several clients where we work in partnership with their in-house team to drive those results, rather than trying to work against them or be protective over budget. It just doesn't, in the real world, that doesn't really matter. It's all about that consumer journey again, and ensuring both aspects are linked up. I know if we're running a big offline campaign, if the performance guys in-house aren't in tune with my offline campaign, we're gonna lose efficiency. We're not gonna be able to harvest all of that demand we've generated.
Definitely, yeah. No, it's interesting to hear that's sort of like I say, it's an overall industry trend for especially larger companies to be in housing,
Yeah.
and it seems that maybe even like you say, smaller brands want to do it, but like you say, the fixed cost element means that they can't necessarily do it. So people like yourselves are sort of helping them sort of achieve the benefits without the fixed cost overhead.
Exactly that. And if we need to attend sort of internal meetings for them, again, our Mint dashboarding, because it's bespoke, we can create unique reports for them. So it's very much working in partnership with our clients rather than having to work to us. There's no point us saying we're going to produce those reports on a Monday if they have a company meeting on a Friday, which they need to go into armed with most up-to-date information. We've got to be flexible and agile to what our clients need.
Definitely, definitely. So aside from that, what's coming up for the Specialist Works in 2025 and beyond?
I don't want to sound like a politician, but growth. We're working really hard to. We had a really good year last year. We won a lot of new business. Retention was really high. We've done a lot of work on who we are and who we're good for, and making sure our CEO's got a mantra of when we are going into new business pitches that we finish first or last. And the idea behind that is we only enter the ones that we know we're right for, we can make a difference for. And if we're not right for that client, they should literally turn around first of all and go, you know what, this ain't going to work, because otherwise it's a waste of everyone's time. So we're very much focused on that. I think we have to be focused and keep an eye on the tech world. We've spoken about AI on this call, but that is changing every single week, and making sure that we are staying just ahead of a curve enough to provide our clients with the advantage, I think is our goal. There's no point bringing in something that we invest in heavily and then we have to sell to our clients. It just doesn't fit with our agency ethos, really. It's about using the right tools for the right client at the right time. And that means our tech team are very, very busy keeping abreast of everything that's going on in that tech world. And then lastly, it's the human input, right? It's understanding audiences, being on top of their trends, where they're going, what they're viewing, what they're listening to, and making sure we're there and putting our ads in the right place. And again, that's becoming more and more difficult as the media world fragments and there's more and more channels and more ways of speaking to that particular target audience. Is understanding the most effective and most efficient way of doing that.
It's really interesting you talk about the media fragmentation, because that was a subject on our last podcast actually, and also the proliferation of tech tools out there, and it seems that you guys are well set up to help clients navigate through what is a potential minefield of, like you say, the new fragmented media space, but then also just the sheer volume of new tech that's coming out in the industry. I think that the technology side of things is probably in answer to and because of the fragmentation
Yeah.
in the media space. Because obviously, when you apply technology, you can more efficiently deal with that fragmentation, because obviously the tech can then iterate across all of those different channels. But yeah, it's really interesting that you guys are set up now to help clients navigate that. So what we do is we just finish off the podcast with a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
So what's your favorite brand in the media and ad tech space, apart from obviously your business?
In the media and ad tech space, I misread your question. That shows a lack of preparation, doesn't it? I thought you meant for a brand out there in the world. My favorite brand in the media ad tech space, I would say, I'm very interested in my radio, and I think if you look at a station like Boom Radio, I'm a bit of a media geek, right? That's why I work so well at Specialist Works. I love my media, and what I especially like is I like brands and propositions which have really bespoke target audiences, and they do really, really well. They provide a need, bang on the button, exactly for this target audience. And Boom Radio launched 5 years ago, maybe, and it was to target baby boomers who predominantly had been BBC listeners. But the BBC, I suppose, if I could be as bold to say so, become slightly complacent over their position in the market, and slightly boring, I suppose. And the likes of Boom came in and just changed what it meant to target that audience, this cash-rich audience, which they're not. They are very, very. They get overlooked by advertisers constantly, and probably overlooked by content providers as well. In some ways, everyone wants to target sort of 1634s, and they forget about this market. And Boom Radio, the radio that just came out last week, again shows growth. And what they're doing down there is just brilliant. I like an underdog story as well. They're independent. going up against BBC, going up against the established, and winning. So I always love an underdog story, and yeah, Boom Radio would be top of that list, I suppose, at the moment.
Very good. So Boom Radio, and an individual in the space you'd like to give a shout out to, and why you'd like to give a shout out
Or an individual in the media space.
in the media space or ad tech space. Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to a guy called Neil Kent at Sky. Not for anything he's done in modern day, even though he's still a great guy. But I started in the TV industry when I was 16 at Colton IT, well, now ITV, but then it was called Colton. And Neil was my boss, and we caught up very recently. And I don't know how he remained so patient with me. But he did, and he guided me through and helped a cocky Southeast Londoner 16-year-old try and he polished a stone. He polished. Oh, I was going to say something else actually. He polished. Yeah, he polished me up. He made. He took a rough diamond and turned it into a bit more refined and helped me grow my career. So I owe a lot to him. And every time I catch up with him, he's still the same lovely, lovely guy. So yeah, I'd give a shout out to Neil Kent.
Very good. Shout out to Neil there. And the number one lesson you've learnt in your media career.
Hard work. Every time I think I've been presented with a shortcut or a way of cutting a corner, it's never really paid off in the long term. And I think it's very pertinent to our conversation today. AI is offering some great shortcuts, some great cutting of corners, but we have to keep an eye on the bigger picture. And hard work, you can never really take that away. And it's something my parents instilled in me. It's something that I try and sort of give to all my teams as well. It's just keep your eye on the ball, be passionate about what you do, and work hard, and everything else will follow.
Very well said. Lee, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.